Hey kids, Mr. Fly here, hope you're well. You find me once again at Brian Gray's Power Biking here in High Wycombe, the Yamaha dealer for High Wycombe, where today I'm going to be riding a bike that I've been wanting to ride for ages. It's this absolutely beautiful machine, the FJR 1300. To my mind, the iconic sports tourer. I've been wanting to ride one for absolutely ages. If you're interested in this machine, stick around and stay tuned. So the FJR 1300 then, what an absolutely cracking bike I think this is. I say that because when I got into bikes, this was the sort of machine that I had in mind that would be the kind of bike that I would ride. I think, I don't know, there's just something about it. It looks like a proper motorbike in my mind. It's old school sports tourer, stonking great four-cylinder engine. The fact that the police and emergency services use them all added to their credibility in my mind. And I just think they look right. And I've been wanting to ride one for ages, probably about 10-15 years as a result of that. So today's the day. So a few things strike me when I first jump on and ride the bike. First off, riding position. Really comfortable seat. Nice wide bike. Your legs feel wide apart on here. But your feet are quite tucked up. So your knees are at a fairly acute angle. So it's bottom half of your body feels relatively sporty. I actually quite like that riding position. Your feet are tucked up, but you are sitting completely upright, so it is very comfortable. But the handlebars are quite narrow, you know, compared to bikes that I'm used to riding. It's not uncomfortable, just takes a bit more hauling around than I'm used to. And then the other thing that strikes you, because it's staring you in the face, is the, for want of a better term, the dashboard on here. Very old school. Again, this bike has been around 4 years in various iterations. It had its last dust up about 3 years ago, where it got some fancy electronics, which I'll talk about later in the review. But one thing it hasn't got is a fancy TFT screen, and I think it's kind of, that's dating the bike a little bit. There's nothing wrong with this display per se. In the middle there we've got a speed and our fuel gauge, the modes we're in, etc. On the left we've got an old school analog rev counter, and on the right we've got our information screen. It all works, but it does look now a bit 1980s compared to some of the displays that you do see on motorcycles. So the bike has got this humongous 1300cc or thereabouts engine, putting out something like 142 brake horsepower with massive dollops of torque. And it's a four-cylinder unit, so it's creamy smooth, a beautiful engine on this. Lovely low seat as well. Look, I can get my feet virtually flat on the floor on both sides, which is really nice. Just getting used to this clutch. It's got quite a wide biting point, just while we're still in the traffic and waiting to get to some better roads. Some of the other practical issues, the mirrors on here are amazing. They're massive, they look good, they're way out in front of you, and you know, they do a great job at seeing behind you, which, let's face it, is what mirrors are for. But because they're on those stalky bits out the front, you've got a great view behind. You're not looking at your elbow or your shoulder or anything like that. Come on, Mr. Fiesta, let's get past the bus, shall we? Yeah, this engine is just superb, super torquey. As soon as you roll on, the thing goes off like a rocket. This is the sports tourer for those that have come from a sports bike. Really nice. I mentioned it's had some upgrades over the last few years, mostly in terms of electronics, so it's got some pretty fancy suspension on here now. It's electronically adjustable, so you can set it as hard, soft or normal, and then there are additional settings, 3 settings up or down on each of them. You can set it up, the preload, such that it knows if it's just you riding the bike, or you and luggage, or you and a pillion and luggage, a bit like on some of the BMWs. You can set that up as well. It's got a couple of riding modes, sport and normal. I've got it in sport at the moment, or sorry, sport and touring. In the touring mode, it gives you mostly better fuel economy. But this bike really needs to be ridden in sports mode, I think. Sounds epic. Just going to check the, try the brakes. The front brakes are brilliant. Just try the back brake. Actually, back brake's pretty good too. Okay, coming into national speed limits, so I can overtake this car when it's clear. And this is where this bike comes into its own. It's just waves of torque. Here we go, nothing behind. Wow. This thing absolutely flies. Man, for a sports tourer, it ain't hanging about. What a lovely machine. Oh, I'll tell you what, I'm a bit tempted by one of these. It's properly quick, this bike. I can see why the cops use them. You're gonna have to go some to get away from one of these. Whilst talking about electronics, this big old screen on here as well, it's electronically adjustable. There's no single button, you have to go through the menus and mode switches here to get to that. The same with heated grips as well. You can see I'm on heated grips at the moment in the status screen there. I can turn those on and off with a button here. If I use this trigger button, I can change the function if you look in that screen. So there we go. That, for example, is the screen now. So now I can move up and down using the button. See, that's fully up. And then we can bring it fully down. I do like an electronically adjustable screen for some reason. Just about there, so it's perfect for me. In that position I'm looking over the screen, but I'm not getting any buffet on my head. It's going right over the top of my head, and I'm here in a beautiful, to use my own cliche, bubble of calm. It's got a big old frontal area, this bike. Your legs are tucked in behind this beautiful fairing and behind the tank, and there's absolutely no wind on my lower part of my body at all, and not getting any unpleasant buffet off the top of my head. Because it is a big screen, it is waggling about a bit, but it absolutely does its job. Oh, I like this very much indeed. I'll tell you what, who cares about TFTs when a bike is this good? Now, of course, the obvious competitor for this bike is the BMW R1250 RT, a bike that I've ridden a reasonable amount, and I'm pretty familiar with the RT. So I guess the question is this better than that? Now, when the magazines and so on pit the bikes against each other, it's normally the RT that wins. And I'm a big fan of BMWs, being a Boxer owner, but I have to say, on just this short little ride so far, I think I prefer this. It definitely feels heavier than the RT. It's not as flickable. Having said that, she does move around, but you have to sort of apply quite a bit of counter steering to get it to move about. So it's not as agile as the RT, that's for sure. But the engine is so much sweeter in terms of its smoothness, and it's just outright grunt and power. This is a rocket ship that belies its looks. Gearbox is nice and smooth. Clutch is nice. It's got the assist and slipper clutch on here as well. Comfy seat. Yeah, this is definitely a mile muncher. You can sit on here all day long, no problem at all. I'm liking this a lot. The other beauty of this bike, of course, is it's got shaft drive, so you don't have to mess about doing chain maintenance. Again, really good if you're on tour. You just get on the bike and forget it. Oh man, I so shouldn't have waited so long to get on one of these FJRs. It is just a lovely machine. There are very few bikes that I ride that I think to myself, you know what, I'd like one of these. In fact, I could probably count on one hand the bikes I've ridden where I think that. This has now joined that crew. There is a little bit of vibration through the machine, but it's not annoying by any means. It just reminds you on a motorbike, and I quite like that. It's such a solidly built machine, metal everywhere. It just feels planted. It is old school, but I'm old school, so I like that. Right, shortly I'm going to find one of my favourite little spots around here to do a walk around, and I'll talk you through the specification and show you a bit more of the detail of the bike. I'll tell you what, as a sport tourer, this don't half bring the hooligan out of you. Clear behind. See you down there, sunshine. I'd say it was more sport than tourer. Fabulous. Right, I love this little section of road up here. You can get up to silly speeds very quickly on here. You've got to keep a bit of an eye on the speedo. Feels beautifully planted through these corners. I'll tell you what, if there's a way of neatly putting a sat-nav on here, this may well be the perfect touring bike for me. I'll be very tempted to get one tomorrow. It's just a beautiful bike to ride. In these corners it's completely planted. Sounds nice. Got that wave of torque, you can just wind on any gear. Tell you what it could do with is a quick shifter. I know that sounds a bit ridiculous on a touring bike, but it's that sort of animal. What a fabulous machine. Right, let's go up to the hotel just up here. I'll show you the bike, talk you through the spec. Ooh, I've put chargers in my usual spot. Let's go down here then. Let's have a look at that turning circle. Quite a wide turning circle actually, but a big old beast, so I suppose that's to be expected. And when you're moving around like this, it does feel quite heavy, but nicely balanced, and because you can get your feet well on the floor, it's not a problem. Alright, neutral easy to select. The side stand feels a little bit flimsy, but easy to get hold of. There we go. Right, let's have a look at this mighty beast. Love these big old stainless exhausts as well. One on each side. Proper man's bike this is. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I suppose it does look a little bit old-fashioned, but it does look like a proper motorcycle, doesn't it? Like that very much. All right, let me get the other camera out and I'll talk you through the spec in the usual way. Okay, here we go then. The mighty 2019 Yamaha FJR 1300, and this one, to give it its full title, is the 1300 AE, not sure what that stands for. So let's start with the main event, which is this massive engine here. 1298cc inline 4-cylinder engine. It's absolute peach with a 6-speed gearbox, and of course it's got that shaft drive. Let's just come around to show you that. So no chain maintenance for you here. Nice and neat little shaft drive actually, compared to some of the Beamers and these massive stainless steel exhausts, which I think look absolutely beautiful. The power of the engine, 146 PS. Don't know why they say PS these days, but I looked it up. That's about 144 brake horsepower at 8,000 RPM. Really feels powerful, this bike, when you wind her on. 138 Newton meters of torque, absolutely dollops of torque, maximum at 7,000 RPM. Brakes on it, excellent brakes. Nissan calipers on here, looking at this, dual discs on the front, they work absolutely fine. These are 320mm discs on the front, and on the rear we've got a single 282mm disc tucked down there. The suspension I talked about is this clever electronically adjustable stuff, so upside down forks on the front. 48mm diameter forks they are, and then on the back here we've got link type suspension. There we can see the, I guess that's the either the gas or the stepper motor that does the clever presetting of the settings, if you want it hard or soft, or to tell it that you're riding with a pillion or with luggage, etc. So very clever suspension. It feels beautiful when you're riding her, and just a really handsome bike, I think. Seat height is adjustable over a range. 805mm is the minimum, up to 825, so I think this is probably on the minimum at the moment. It suits me at 5'8", a treat. And the tank capacity on this, massive tank, 25 litres, so plenty of range out of this, particularly if you stick her into touring mode. The weight of the bike overall, wet, 292 kilograms, so yeah, pretty heavy bike, but doesn't feel heavy because you're sat nice and low, your feet are firmly planted on the deck, but it's actually heavier than a BMW GS Adventure, but it doesn't feel that at all. Electronics wise, I mentioned the riding modes and so on. It's also got Yamaha's cruise control. It has these great buttons, actually these feel really nice when you're using them, and this is this side of the handlebars as well. Electronics wise, you've also got LED lights, and it's got these clever cornering lights down here as well, so as you lean the bike into the corner, those come on and light the corners up, so clever stuff. It's got D mode, engine modes. I talked about traction control, cruise control, I mentioned heated grips, assist and slipper clutch, that electric screen, 12-volt sockets, all that kind of malarkey, so all the stuff that you really need. Comes in tech graphite or phantom blue. You can get slip-on acro cans for it if you want. Extra comfort seat, a GPS mount, which I would certainly get, and all sorts of other bits and pieces that you can buy for it to make it your own. Pricing, according to the Yamaha website, starts from 16,799, so call it 17 grand for this bike. So yeah, it's up there in the same sort of pricing league as a BMW RT or a GS Adventure, so you know, you'd have to think very carefully about which one you went for. But yeah, boy, this is a sporty little number. Alrighty, that's enough for the walk around. Let's jump on and ride some more. It feels like it's just starting to rain. That could curtail my fun, which is a shame. I think what I might do is just take the bike over there by those bushes, see if I can get some decent photographs of it. Sounds properly purposeful when you start her up. Big, deep thrum of an engine. Those bushes are rather colourful. Maybe I'll just stick it in front of there and take some pics. Yeah, let's give that a go. Right, just bear with me. Right, just took a pic or two, might be able to use for thumbnail purposes. Right, nothing coming. Oh, I think I can sneak out there. Right, as much as I enjoy riding this bike in the twisties, I think I really owe it to it and to you to give it a try on the motorway, because these are the sorts of bikes that are going to be used, I would think, to do some motorway munching, just to get to your destination in Europe or wherever you're going. Let's go and give her a little zap on the M40, see what she feels like. Just as I'm heading up to the motorway, must just say thanks very much to the guys up at Brian Gray's Power Biking in High Wycombe for once again lending me a bike to review. Fabulous showrooms up there if you've not been. Loads of bikes to look at and ride on. Have a chat to Sam, he'll sort you out with a demo. Got an accessory shop there too. Great place just to go for a ride out. Alright, let's join the motorway then. Let's see what she's like at sort of motorway speeds. No issue joining the motorway. This is just a bike that wants to go fast. So here I am. I'm in lane 1, look, everybody else is going quicker than me, but I'm still doing 75, 76 miles an hour. And I feel absolutely great. No wind buffet off the helmet here. No terrible vibrations. This is just the sort of riding that if you had to get to where you're going, you could do this for hours on end and just punch off the miles. Now, I haven't ridden many bikes more comfortable than this. In fact, only one leaps to mind that was definitely more comfortable, and that was the massive Honda Goldwing, which is an incredibly comfortable bike. But then this is right there with things like the BMW GS Adventure and the BMW RT, and possibly even more comfortable, you know. Depends whether you like your legs tucked up or not. On those other bikes you're a bit more, particularly the GSA, your legs are a little bit straighter, so if you're a taller person that would probably suit you more. But for an average type person like me, this is a very comfortable place to be. And with all that power and all that torque, you're never going to have a problem overtaking traffic. Oh look, a white van makes a change, and another van up ahead, and another white van about to overtake or come past us. There we go, brilliant. Good to see they're all out today. Anyway, one of the things I like about this engine on here, because it is so big and so therefore under no stress whatsoever, it has a fairly lazy characteristic when you're just poodling along like this. Here I am, look, 30 miles an hour in third gear, bike's not complaining at all, no terrible vibrations or anything like that, and it's not howling at me either. As some four-cylinder machines do, they sound like they're a Formula 1 car even when you're just poodling along. Well, this one, it's got so much excess of power, it doesn't have to make all that shouty stuff. It's a really lovely unit. So I've been very gushing in this first ride review, I don't know about this bike, how much I like it. So I owe it to myself to find some things that I don't like about the bike, so I don't get accused of just liking everything, which is always what I get accused of. So what don't I like about the bike? Well, I don't like the fact that you have to go through those menus to get to things like how to adjust the screen, to get to the heated grips. In fairness, it is only one button away, and it's, you know, one depth down in the menu, so it's not as bad as say some of the KTMs where you have to do 5 or 6 key presses to get to the heated grips. But nonetheless, I'd rather it had actual buttons, but I appreciate there's a limit to how many buttons you can get on the thing. So that's one thing. I think the dash is dating the bike a little bit now. Nothing wrong with it, I actually quite like old school dials, but this day and age you expect so much more with the screens. If this was a nice big TFT with the built-in sat-nav, it would just be fantastic on here. It is quite a heavy bike, but as I say, when you're riding it doesn't feel heavy. It's not that bad to get off the stand because your feet get on the deck, and it's nice and low the weight, so even though a heavy weight isn't something that I would put as a black mark on it, I can't really think of anything else I don't like about the bike. It's just a beautiful place to be. Even better if I wasn't behind this van, mind you. Sorry, I'm going to have to take this. This bike is just perfect for roads like this. Big sweepy corners, lovely planted handling. Very, very nice. I suppose thinking about things I don't like about the bike, again racking my brains, it is quite expensive at just knocking on the door of 17 grand. That is a lot of money, but then it is a lot of bike, and it's competitive with its peers. Just a shame I don't have a spare 17 grand. Well, there's a lot of white vans out today. Alright, so to summarise then, what do I think of the bike? Well, it's clear what I think of it. I love it. It's a beautiful looking machine. It's lovely to ride. It's got a prodigiously powerful engine. It goes really fast. It's much more sports than it is tourer. I think I prefer it over the BMW RT, although that bike has got the edge as far as electronics are concerned, things like the display, etc. But in terms of just a riding bike, this is the one for me. Very, very nice indeed. Really enjoyed riding it, and hopefully that's come across in this first impressions review. If you enjoyed this review, it'd be great to have you subscribe to the channel. I don't just do reviews of bikes here on the Missing and Fly, but I also do product reviews. I do trips and tours, I do how-tos, I do things in the garage, I do bike news, the odd live stream, basically anything and everything to do with motorcycles. I try and cover it here. It'd be great to have you subscribe to the channel and have you along again on a future video. Alright, that's it for this time. Hope you've enjoyed that. Look forward to speaking to you again soon. Until then, this has been the Missing and Fly. Cheerio.